In 1977, Elvis Presley stopped mid-song during a sold-out Las Vegas show, walked away from the microphone, and did something that left 10,000 fans completely speechless, many openly weeping in their seats. What happened next wasn't planned, wasn't rehearsed, and revealed a side of the king that no one in that arena expected to see. But who was the mysterious person waiting in the shadows that night? And why did their appearance transform Elvis from a global superstar into a vulnerable man right before everyone's eyes? The International Hotel's main showroom pulses with anticipation as 10,000 voices create a low hum of excitement that seems to vibrate through the velvet-lined walls. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across expectant expressions, while cigarette smoke curls lazily toward the ornate ceiling. It's August 1977, and Las Vegas still feels like the center of the entertainment universe. But tonight carries an electric charge that even seasoned showgoers can sense. The usual pre-show energy feels different somehow, charged with an undercurrent of an extraordinary event about to unfold. Backstage, Elvis Presley stands before a full-length mirror, his white jumpsuit catching the harsh fluorescent light. The rhinestones and gold trim that once made him feel invincible now seem to weigh heavier with each passing show. His hands tremble slightly as he adjusts the high collar, not from nerves he conquered those years ago, but from a deeper emotion, a force that's been building inside him for weeks. The face staring back at him shows the toll of 2 decades in the spotlight. But tonight, there's an element in those eyes, a quality that speaks of unfinished business and promises that need keeping. Colonel Parker appears in the doorway, his ever-present cigar creating a cloud between them. "Elvis, boy, we've got that special arrangement you requested." "She's here." The manager's voice holds an unusual note of uncertainty, seemingly unsure this is a good idea. Parker has orchestrated thousands of shows, managed every detail of Elvis's career with ruthless efficiency. But this request has left him genuinely unsettled. Elvis nods without turning around, his reflection showing eyes that hold secrets the world has never seen, memories that predate the fame and fortune that built this glittering empire. The curtain call echoes through the corridors like a battle cry. Elvis closes his eyes and takes a breath, reaching back to childhood memories of Sunday morning church services and his mother's gentle voice singing hymns in their tiny Tupelo home. When he opens them again, his reflection shows a man carrying the weight of 20 years of fame, but also another quality, a quiet determination that wasn't there an hour ago, a resolve to honor something beyond any contract or career consideration. As he walks toward the stage entrance, his longtime pianist, Charlie Hodge, falls into step beside him. "You sure about this EP?" Charlie asks, his voice barely audible above the building roar from beyond the curtain. The question bears years of friendship, countless performances together, and concern born from watching someone you care about make decisions that could change everything. Elvis places a hand on his friend's shoulder, and for just a moment, the king's carefully constructed facade slips away completely. "Some things are beyond the show's importance, Charlie. Tonight, you'll understand." The curtain rises to thunderous applause, but as Elvis steps into the blazing spotlight, his eyes immediately scan past the front rows, past the familiar faces of regular fans, searching the darkness beyond. Somewhere out there, in a wheelchair near the side of the stage where the lighting can't quite reach, sits the reason his heart is beating faster than it has in months. Elvis launches into CC Rider with his usual commanding presence. But those who know him best can hear a rawness in his voice, a rawness that cuts through the polished Vegas sheen like a knife through silk. The opening number usually serves as his declaration of dominance over the room, his way of announcing that the king has arrived and the evening belongs to him. Tonight, however, the familiar swagger feels forced, like he's going through motions that no longer fit the man inside the jumpsuit. Between verses, he moves across the stage, with less of his trademark hip-swiveling confidence, and more of the restless energy of a man with a burden weighing heavily on his soul. The band notices it first. These musicians who've backed him through hundreds of performances and can read his moods like sheet music. James Burton's guitar licks remain flawless, but his eyes keep darting to Elvis, reading the subtle changes in body language that spell trouble for a standard show. The rhythm section maintains its tight pocket, yet everyone can feel the undercurrent of emotion that poised to break through Elvis's professional veneer at any moment. This isn't the Elvis they've played behind for countless nights. This is someone they've rarely seen, someone more vulnerable and infinitely more human than the persona that usually commands this stage. During Love Me Tender, Elvis's voice cracks on a note he's hit perfectly thousands of times before. The break comes on the word tender itself, like the very concept of gentleness has become too much for his voice to handle without betraying the emotion building inside him. He recovers quickly, professionally, but not before a ripple of concern moves through the front rows. The women who followed him from city to city, show to show, know that crack wasn't technical, it was emotional. He steps closer to the edge of the stage, and his eyes search the darkness again, finding that wheelchair in the shadows where his childhood piano teacher sits, her weathered hands folded in her lap, watching the boy she once knew command a room full of strangers. Between songs, Elvis does something he rarely does anymore. He talks directly to the audience about the past, about the people who shaped him before fame transformed everything. You know, folks, his voice carries across the hushed arena. Before all this glitter and these lights, I was just a kid who loved music. There was this woman who taught me that music wasn't just about entertaining people. It was about touching their souls. His words hang in the air like a prayer. And even the cocktail waitresses stop moving to listen. The confession surpasses his usual between-song banter, beyond any interview he's ever given. The vulnerability continues as he speaks about loneliness that success can't cure, about the people who believed in him before the world knew his name, about debts that can't be repaid with money or fame. His band exchanges glances, realizing they're witnessing Elvis strip away layers of protection he's built up over 2 decades of performing. As he moves into How Great Thou Art, his voice begins to shake with an emotion that has nothing to do with stage fright and everything to do with love, gratitude, and the weight of time passing too quickly. The opening notes of How Great Thou Art fill the arena with their familiar power, the song that has become Elvis's signature spiritual moment in every show, the one that transforms him from entertainer to nearly a preacher. But halfway through the first verse, something unprecedented happens that shatters all expectations in the room. Elvis's voice simply stops. Not a forgotten lyric or a technical malfunction, he deliberately stops singing, his hand raised to signal the band to halt. The gesture is so sudden, so unexpected, that several musicians continue playing for a few beats before realizing their leader has abandoned them mid-song. The music dies away until the only sound in the International Hotel is the confused murmur of 10,000 people wondering if anything has gone terribly wrong. This isn't a dramatic pause for effect or a moment of showmanship. This is Elvis Presley, doing an act that goes against every instinct honed by decades of professional performance. The silence stretches uncomfortably, filled with tension arising, when carefully orchestrated entertainment suddenly becomes unpredictably real. Elvis stands center stage for what feels like an eternity, his chest rising and falling, with breathing indicating a man gathering courage for a monumental act. The spotlight creates a harsh circle around him, isolating him in blazing white light, while the rest of the arena fades into darkness. But his eyes are focused beyond its reach, into the shadows where most of the audience can't see. Security guards shift nervously near the wings, unsure whether to approach, their hands hovering near radios as they try to determine if this is a medical emergency or something else entirely. His band members lean forward in their chairs, instruments ready but waiting for a cue that doesn't come, their faces betraying concern stemming from watching someone they care about step into completely uncharted territory. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis finally speaks, his voice carrying none of its usual showman polish or Vegas confidence. The microphone picks up each tremor, each catch in his throat, each breath that betrays the emotion threatening to overwhelm him. Tonight, I want you to meet someone who's been with me since before any of you knew my name. The confession hangs in the air like smoke from incense, sacred and heavy with meaning that the audience doesn't yet understand, but can feel in their bones. He walks to the edge of the stage with deliberate steps, his rhinestone jumpsuit catching the lights as he moves away from the safety of center stage toward the unknown. The house lights come up slightly, revealing what was hidden in the darkness: an elderly black woman in a wheelchair, positioned near the side of the stage, her silver hair perfectly styled despite her obvious frailty, her dark eyes bright with tears that haven't yet fallen, but ready to spill over at any moment. The audience gasps audibly as recognition dawns that this isn't a publicity stunt or a scripted moment designed to manipulate their emotions, but a deeply personal and unrehearsed moment playing out before them. Elvis descends the steps at the side of the stage, his movements gentle and reverent, each step measured as if he's approaching an altar instead of simply walking toward an elderly woman. When their eyes meet, both expressions crumble with emotion that 2 decades of separation have been unable to diminish: love and gratitude, and the weight of time passing visible in each line of their expressions. With infinite gentleness that reveals more about his character than any performance ever could, Elvis helps his childhood piano teacher from her wheelchair, his strong hands steady and sure as he slowly guides her toward the stage. Each movement is measured, deliberate, like he's escorting royalty rather than being escorted himself, his usual commanding presence replaced by an infinitely more beautiful quality: the reverence of a student in the presence of his most important teacher. The audience remains spellbound, many openly weeping now, as they realize they're witnessing an experience that transcends entertainment entirely, a moment of pure human connection that fame and fortune could never manufacture or rehearse. The walk to the piano seems to take forever, but neither Elvis nor his teacher appears to be in any hurry. This is their moment, stolen from the demands of show business and the expectations of thousands of strangers. A private reunion happening in the most public of spaces. She moves with the careful dignity of someone who has spent a lifetime making music and teaching others to find their voices, her presence transforming the glittering Vegas showroom into a space that feels more like a small church in Mississippi, where music was first learned as prayer rather than performance. At the piano, Elvis kneels beside the bench as she settles onto it with practiced grace, her weathered fingers finding the keys with muscle memory that decades haven't been able to erase. The instrument responds to her touch like an old friend welcoming her home, and she begins to play "He Knows Just What I Need," the first gospel song she taught a restless 13-year-old boy in Tupelo who dreamed of being like Dean Martin, but needed first to learn that music could heal hearts as well as entertain crowds. The melody flows through the arena with simple, unadorned beauty that makes all elaborate production numbers in Elvis's repertoire seem suddenly unnecessary and overwrought. Elvis's voice joins hers, but this isn't the voice that sold millions of records or commanded audiences worldwide with its power and range. This is the voice of that teenager again, uncertain and seeking, finding its way through a familiar song like a man finding his way home after being lost for 20 years. There are no vocal runs, no dramatic gestures, no performance techniques designed to showcase his abilities, just a student singing with his teacher, their voices blending in harmony, impossible to teach in music schools, or bought with recording contracts, or manufactured for the entertainment of crowds. The song ends, but neither of them moves immediately from their positions at the piano. Elvis remains kneeling beside the bench, his head bowed in what looks like prayer, while she keeps her hands resting on the keys as if the music might continue flowing through her fingers without any conscious effort. When he finally looks up at her, his face shows peace absent from his features for longer than anyone who loves him can remember. He whispers, "Thank you," so quietly that even the sensitive microphones scattered across the stage can't capture it. But every person in that arena understands the weight of those two words and the lifetime of gratitude they contain. As Elvis helps his teacher back to her wheelchair with the same gentle reverence he showed in bringing her to the stage, the standing ovation begins, not the usual enthusiastic applause for a particularly impressive performance, but a deeper, more reverent response. A response emerging when people recognize they've witnessed the sacred. Years later, those who were there would say it was the night they stopped seeing Elvis as the king and started seeing him as beautifully, perfectly, and powerfully human.